Start. Okay, recording started.
Okay.
I recorded it to the cloud, so I can send you a link later. Okay, so I've got just our kind of general ground floor plan pulled up here. I think more of the changes that we need to look at today, though, together are getting that attic space in. And part of the challenge with that on a plan this narrow is that, like we were talking about, we would need to, this bedroom would basically need to lose a door. So I think that's kind of question one. Do you want a 2-story bedroom conceptually, that's a master, or do we want this as a flex space that then lets us wrap around to the next set of stairs coming up?
Well, I think that having the flex space is really nice in the sense that it's not going to cost that much more to add that extra space. It gives someone an extra, they can go upstairs and have, it could be a single person, professional couple, and they could have an upstairs office, for example, and then have a living room or a workout room upstairs. And or work out in that area and then office upstairs. So to me, it seems like not that much more costly to add that square footage. However, I was talking a little bit with Gustavo about the HVAC, and that I think he it seemed a little bit maybe more challenging to do that, because then you've got 3 floors. You've got, usually we do a zone system with the 2 and put the furnace in the attic. And so now that's just less space up there to do that. And we'd need an additional unit. So, and I think we could do a mini split up at the, for the 3rd floor, but, and I guess, I don't know, I'm not sure your take on it, but what he was thinking was on the unit that's on the HVAC units that's right next to the stairs. The HVAC company doesn't love having the return be right under the unit, because sometimes it drips down, I guess. And then also, there's the air coming in and the air going out. So
I feel like we've gotten really in the weeds in the last year or two about how HVAC works in these little units. And I don't know that I totally agree with some of the things that the big companies are doing, which are sort of like their approaches from bigger plans incorporated into these. So one of the things that we've really been aiming to do, and I mean, we've talked about this, our view on energy efficiency is if we're building code standard construction types, but the plans are half as big as, a lot of the competition, then we're twice as energy efficient and material efficient. But the single thing that we've really been trying hard to do is keep all of our ductwork in the conditioned envelope. I'm going to get these stats wrong, but it's something like 40% of your energy usage is your heating and cooling in a house. And you've got like a 25% immediate energy efficiency loss when you put the ductwork in the attic. And so if we can keep the ductwork down in the envelope, especially in a truss system in between, that's one reason we've been doing so many crawl spaces, is we can put ducts down at a conditioned crawl space. We've seen a massive energy efficiency increase. And so we've been doing, that's one reason we always try to provide a conditioned closet for those HVAC units. And this one's probably too small for 2 units without that attic that's finished out. But in a lot of our plans that are just slightly bigger than this, we have been doing 2 1.5-ton units rather than a zoned system. There are less parts in a non-zone system to break. It's slightly more expensive. We just priced it out on some plans that are about this square footage. They're maybe 150 square feet bigger. 2 or 3 feet longer. And the cost difference between doing one zoned system that was like a 2.5 ton and doing 2 1.5 ton non-zoned systems, where the ductwork is a lot simpler, your duct runs are a lot shorter. So you've got some good energy efficiency increase in that too, was like $1,500 a plan, $1,000 a plan. And most of these planes are small enough you could do 2 1-ton units, but from an equipment standpoint, a 1.5-ton unit isn't any cheaper or more expensive than a 1-ton unit. So one thing to look at is, do we do one ground floor unit that is in this closet, that ductwork comes up? The units that we show are bigger than you need for a 1.5-ton unit. This is the footprint for like a 2.5-ton or 3-ton unit. So with a 1.5-ton unit, you have space that the return can be under the unit, or we could box out some space in the pantry if they wanted to come over. Our HVAC guy, who I really like, has not had any concerns about building a plenum right underneath the unit for the return air, and then the return air just comes in right underneath. And then your ductwork either is coming up into a roof truss, which is most efficient, but situations like if this was a crawl space unit, but we didn't have enough space to put a horizontal unit in the crawl space, which is what we usually will do for a ground floor, is, if we can get 3 feet to one end of the plan in the crawl space clear, then we can run a horizontal unit and run all of the ground floor ductwork down in the crawl space. So that's ideal. If we're on a slab, then this unit, the ductwork needs to go up. There is space in these closets to both do the return air down below the unit and also have the ductwork come up out of the top and down the side. So you don't have to do a downdraft unit, which have their own issues. So we've got a lot of flexibility in this one, but if we added that 3rd floor, one thing that we could do is do a 1.5-ton unit here, that the ductwork comes up and is in that floor system up above. We need to do a little minor coordination with making sure that we don't have plumbing and ductwork crossing anywhere, that we've got a chase to bring plumbing down. In a similar plan recently, we just boxed in a little like 12-inch bookshelf that's cabinetry at the end of the fridge, and the plumbing, there's a little plumbing chase in that cabinetry for the bathroom upstairs, so that we're not needing to bring the plumbing across the plan, which we can run into some conflicts in a 16-inch truss, especially with trying to run ductwork, over and down in those trusses, and the plumbing needing to come across to a wall to come down. So that's a pretty simple solution that we could do that takes care of the ground floor. And then these are small enough, I think probably a 1.5-ton unit in this closet that then comes up into the roof truss between the 2nd and 3rd floors to serve both of those is probably going to be enough, because you don't need that much air for that 3rd floor because it's pretty small. So that might be one approach. And that is one reason we always try to, we can always leave that as an empty closet, but we try to leave space for 2 units for these just to provide that flexibility.
In terms of keeping it in conditioned space, I figured we'd do foam the attic. So we could have that, under the eave, or, that space too, if there's room there. But that makes sense if we did the unit there. Also, I guess maybe we could do a mini split on the 1st floor, because it's all open essentially, except for the bathroom. We could absolutely do that. I think we've talked about this, but there's a cassette mini split that's pretty cool. That's like so the head part of the mini split goes into either a ceiling cavity, in between 2 trusses, or the other place that we've seen them done is like up above a closet like this. And what you see then is just like a 24 by 24-inch grill on the wall. And all of the guts that are usually exposed in that head are in, like a 24 by 24 piece that gets set behind that. So that could be the complaint we get about mini splits is the look. And so that's been, I think, a good solution to get the same, it just looks like a big air grill. But for a big open space like this, it could work really well. Okay. And you can do more than one head on a single
condenser. So, you could potentially do a smaller head, I think, for the bathroom, or they just leave the door cracked. These spaces, especially because they're townhouses, these spaces aren't going to it's not like they're an outside wall and they're going to get really cold.
Yeah.
So I think a mini split, especially for a townhouse situation like this, is going to make a lot of sense, because we're already really energy efficient because our two longest walls are shared with other conditioned units.
Do you, okay. I was going to move on to the attic space too, but
Yeah, go ahead.
well, so I was thinking about having a bathroom up. Did you understand what I said about, okay, we do the stacked staircase.
Yep.
There, in terms of the amount of space that's up there, do you think that there's room for a bathroom, 3/4, just a small bathroom up there?
I think there probably is, and that may also make this plan more attractive from a, part of, I think with a 2-bedroom, especially without kind of a standalone office, the 1.5 bath makes total sense, because the bulk of people that we see living in these plans are a single person living alone. It's sometimes a couple, but the bulk of it is single people living alone. And so that second bedroom, they have an office or they have a guest room, but they really don't need a second full bathroom. I think with adding that extra square footage, I think we're bumping up into a large enough plan that it makes sense to have another bathroom.
Yeah, if it's if it's a office up there, might be nice, even if it was just a half bath. I'm not sure. It'd be nicer to have a full, so someone could live up there. But if it was a half bath, they could have their office and just be easy. But
let me hop over to the model for just a second and pull in our roof line.
And so I think, like you said, on the two ends with the hip roof, that's maybe certainly less than the other ends, particularly if we're not doing a dormer on one side. I could see where that could get really tight.
Yes.
And maybe there's no room for a bathroom there. I don't know. I guess the other thing, well, I guess we can just start with what's feasible from a size standpoint, and then think about parking and bedrooms after that. But
yeah, so if this one if we're looking at a center unit, which I think is probably what we should look at first, because it's going to be a little bit easier because we've got more space. Mm-hmm. We've got something that's kind of like this. This is a 5-foot plate height. And so as long as more than, I think it's 50% of our square footage, I'm gonna have to check the code on that, but as long as it's more than a percentage of this area is taller than 6'8", then it's okay to go down to 4 or 5 feet, and we can still count this as conditioned area. But we can't kind of push a bathroom all the way to one of these sides. So I think that's the only tricky thing, is that from kind of functional room standpoint, we really don't want to go smaller for a bedroom than like 11.6 by 11.6, and 12 is better, especially because this is probably the master. And so that's part of the tricky thing with the 18-foot plan, is we really only have a functional width of 17 feet inside. And so to get that 12-foot bedroom, we really want to be able to push the bathroom to one side or the other. So probably the bedroom being at that short ceiling line works well, because you can have the head of the bed up against that short wall and bedside tables. You're not walking over there. But that would mean if we're pulling a wall, 12 feet off of that, that's eating up most of our room space, which means then, we do have space for a little bathroom, little closet, especially if we pull a couple more stair risers down here, we have head height to do that. So if we pulled these 3 stair risers here, so that we weren't making a turn up at this top level, mm-hmm. that might also help.
So what I was thinking is that we would have the dormer on the top side.
Mhm.
On the, well, I guess on this version, if we did it, flipped it mirror image for the other units, then it would be the other side. But for this unit, we'd have it on the top side, and so that would make
So
sense
it's north side.
where the bedroom is,
Uh-huh.
because that would be where the window is. Whereas if we had it on the opposite side, we wouldn't have a window if we had the bathroom on the top side.
Right.
But I guess if we did like you did with the stairs there,
let me pull this dormer size.
if we did the stairs, if we move the stairs back like you had there, then we would be able to, we could, the stairs come up kind of right in the middle, so you could pick either side, I guess.
That's a good point that we actually could. Structurally, it's a little funky, but we could play with it up here to see if we could make that work too, that we are moving, we're still turning a little bit, but we're moving this down to get that turn in the stairs to come up a little bit more centered. So if this is our dormer, the other thing I wanted to pull in, yeah, so that's our 8-foot ceiling line, and that's with the dormer. So it would be more like here, but with the current roof pitch, we have an 8-foot ceiling only for about 10 feet in the middle of the plan. So this dormer may need to be larger on the end units to be able to get that a little bit bigger. The roof pitch may need to go up. I think figuring out exactly what we want up here is going to be key.
I think maybe, on the, well, it seems like on the end units, I guess we can see, but maybe those ones are it's just kind of bonus area. Doesn't have a bathroom. I think from a permitting standpoint, if we do the 2 middle ones are 2 bedrooms and the 2 end units are 1 bedrooms, then we've got 6 bedrooms, which means 6 parking spaces, which means, and we can get a 25% decrease with the, the by right, then we are at 5 parking spaces, which is what we have, 5 parking spaces. So I think that we could keep the end units as just, the 3rd floor is bonus room, not really a bedroom, and then keep the middle ones that have a little more room up there. Those could be true bedrooms.
I think it would make sense then. I was still kind of blocking this out. So the bedroom then might end up being something like this, which is a little bit of a funky shape, but there's enough space for a bed here. You can get a desk and armchair, and you've got your windows up here, kind of closet tucked in. And then, yes, plenty of room for a bathroom. I think a full bathroom. And I think for the middle units, that makes sense that these are a 2-bedroom with flex, 2 bathroom. And I think this upstairs bathroom should be relatively nice because it is going to be the master. Would be my.
I guess I was. Okay. What
are your thoughts?
Well, I was thinking in my head that maybe it could be an office. It either could be, the office space, workout room, or alternatively, if they had kids, they might be up on the 3rd floor, but, younger kids, but maybe it is the master. I'm not sure. I guess, I don't know. I guess it's interesting that you were thinking of it being the master, but maybe that makes the most sense.
The downside that we see with having little kids upstairs from a master is that there's just so much sound like between the floor. And so that's one reason we often in a 3-story plan would see the primary suite. There's also, I'm having a hard time remembering always to do it, but there is a movement to stop calling it the master bedroom and call it the primary suite.
Primary, yeah.
So we're often seeing that primary suite up on the third floor from a sound standpoint, that it's quiet. But yeah, I think figuring out that demographic of, there's only 4 of these center plans. Mm-hmm. So, we're not making 50 of them that you need to be able to sell it to the masses. But I think figuring out that demographic of who is living here is probably going to be really primary to figure out how they're going to use the space.
Well, so these are going to be all rentals. So I think there's probably, flexibility there in terms of, people are going to be a little less picky of what they get. But I mean, I still want to be functional, but there's probably a little bit more flexibility there. But I mean, I guess so I guess when you say a nicer bathroom, what do you, I guess, just have like a wider vanity? What sort of thing?
I mean, not necessarily do just like a pedestal sink and, a corner shower. Mm-hmm. Which if this was kind of just a secondary, it's kind of a glorified powder room, so that you have another full bath, but it's, it's not the one that you're using every day. I think we could go much tighter with that plan versus, if this was going to be the primary suite, I'd probably move this nice big walk-in shower up here and then do a tub. If you think there's a chance that there are going to be families with little kids here, we probably need a bathroom with at least one tub.
I mean, so on the 4 townhouses we did on MLK, in the 5 units, there was, which are virtually the same size, except now we have a little more. We actually had a family. So it was a couple with 2 young kids. Mm-hmm. There was a couple, a single woman, middle-aged, and a mom who bought it for her college daughter and roommate. And then the back house was, they bought it as a rental, and I think it was a professional couple. Someone worked at university, moved here from out of town. I don't think they had kids, but I'm not sure. But in any case, so I guess it was a mix. Interestingly, the family bought it, but I mean, it was with the 2 kids, but they had a yard, and that was fenced in, and they had a pretty decent sized yard, and they price point wise, it was also competitive compared to anything else in the market. So I don't know.
Well, and it's funny that, generally when we're talking to people about, it's a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, it's almost certainly going to be one person living alone, which is about 35% of the market, or 2 people living together, which is another 30% of the market. Sometimes those two people are a couple. Sometimes it's a single parent with a single child. Sometimes it's roommates, but in general, like 1 bathroom is fine, and there aren't going to be a lot of kids. But it is funny as we think about like the Leva townhouses that were so famous for like bringing people out to the suburbs, and it was a house to build your family in. And the average plan size was like 750 square feet, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, like way smaller than this one. So it is funny as you say that, like these bedrooms are plenty big to have twin beds or bunk beds and some play area. We kind of don't necessarily design them with that demographic in mind, but I think it's something interesting that if you guys start seeing more of, it wouldn't be that many changes to design them more in mind for that. It would work fine.
Yeah. Well, I think 2 things. We plan to hold these for a long time. And so, I want them to be flexible over time. I think it's worth putting in. I would like, want to balance the, how much you put into it and overbuilding, but, spending a couple $1,000s for a little more bathroom now, may may not be necessary right now, but in 5 years, I think also as the neighborhood changes, we'll see a lot more families move in potentially, as but I guess probably too, as things continue to increase in price, which I think they probably will, demands for size will shrink if costs keep going up. So, or I guess demands will not decrease, but the reality of what people can afford will change. So
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
um,
Which is what we're seeing in most of the growing cities. The average plan size starts to shrink as costs rise.
additionally, I think too, just thinking about the end units versus the middle units is having the, it's not huge diversity. I want to keep them simple and keep them so I can repeat them, but having a little bit of variety so you can actually see what the different demographics are who choose them and who, and what the price points are. So, if we get everyone wanting the middle ones or everyone wanting the end ones, we can actually change those around in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Have a little, actually, just thinking about this, the house size. So the 4 little 1-bedroom cottages we had a single guy in one, single woman in the other, and then the 2 middle ones, both were couples, which was really surprising to me that although they both moved out after a few years because it was too small, but they bought it.
Although I tell that story pretty often, that we design those so intentionally with this really specific demographic in mind, that it's across the street from the senior center. They're going to be low maintenance. You could, for single seniors to downsize into from a larger house, that it's more low maintenance, easier to maintain, lower ownership cost, and then wheelchair accessible. And every single buyer was basically a millennial, which I think is really funny. We missed the fact that they were just really affordable houses relative to what else you could get on the market.
Yeah. Well, actually, one of them was a senior couple.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they went over. They used the senior center.
Okay. They're perfect.
25%
accuracy on our demographic design. That's interesting too. Go ahead.
They said they were actually really happy with the space, but they had their son come visit from out of town, a grown son, and so they couldn't have visitors. So that was it. And they used to, actually, part of it was that they were retired and traveled a lot, and so they wanted something small and they could go travel. But with COVID, they didn't travel, so they just needed more space. So I think that was part of it. But I mean, actually, they said they were really happy with the space if it was just for them.
I think that's a good point too, though. The guest room reality is the limitation of a 1-bedroom. And so if these become a really nice 1-bedroom, that they've got, even the end units have this big flex space upstairs and a big flex space on the 2nd floor, and they really just have one enclosed bedroom, I think that is a little bit of a limiting factor on people using them, because they don't have a 2nd bedroom as a guest room, unless you're keeping one of the 4 units or one of the 8 units as an Airbnb that tenants have kind of priority or a discount on, so that when you have guests, they have some place to go and stay, even if it's next door instead of in another bedroom. Yeah, but I think that guest room has been a real limitation for us in what we've seen people really finding the 1-bedroom livable. Because even, when we look at somebody with a little kid in a 2-bedroom, if their mom comes to stay for 2 weeks, the kid can usually move in with the parent, for a short period of time. And so you still have kind of that second functional bedroom. And something like this that has that big open great room, a pull-out couch isn't that attractive, because you don't have much privacy. So I think as we think about how to incorporate this upstairs space, I even was, we played a little bit with, could we make a spiral staircase work? I'm also curious, do we just do a spiral staircase for both levels? Because the problem is we can't stack a spiral staircase with a normal staircase, and a spiral staircase that's code compliant needs to be 42-inch diameter instead of the small. You can buy smaller ones, but they're not code compliant for egress. So do we do a large spiral staircase all the way up, and then we could still have 2 bedrooms on the main floor and have the bonus space up on top?
That's an interesting idea. But I think I probably wouldn't. I feel like it's a turnoff for some people. I feel like it would be for bedrooms, if it was a loft space or really urban, if it was, I feel like that would be where space was really constrained. That would be more that it would work. But I feel like, yeah, it's a little pushing it a little bit for this.
Yeah. I think that would be the way, though, to get all the way up to that 3rd floor with 2 bedrooms still on the main floor. Because I think the main limitation is that we're really cutting a bedroom to be able to come around to the set of stairs.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be really intentional about either this then becomes a bedroom with its own bathroom, and then I feel like that's a plan upgrade, and this is a flex space, and we cut this door, and there's a door at the top of the stairs. So this is its own suite, or maybe in the end units, maybe this bedroom and this flex space are connected, but we still have a door here. So it's still a 2-bedroom. It's just that this bedroom also then has like a bonus, office space, and there's no bathroom up there.
Yeah.
But I think for a plan this big, because the base plan is 1150, and so with the added square footage, we're going to be pushing 1,500 square feet. I think a 1-bedroom that's that big just doesn't make a ton of sense from a space utilization. Would be my vote.
So, yeah. Okay. So if we were to say,
so for this middle unit, that would mean I think we cut, hold on. I think for the middle units where we can get a bathroom and a bedroom upstairs with the dormer and closets, there's plenty of space to have a nice suite upstairs. Then I think this becomes flex space, and this is office or it is playroom. If you are a parent with 1 or 2 little kids who live in the house, you've got a nice play space, office space, etc. This becomes a really nice flex area that you walk through to come around the stairs. And then at the top of the stairs, we work to get it to be a full bedroom with a full bathroom. And I think we could play with, does the shower go upstairs or downstairs? But I think we have enough space to make a nice upstairs, we then have 2 nice bedrooms, 2 nice bathrooms, and a flex area, which I think is really marketable. And for the end units, where that upstairs is much smaller, then I think this loft space is no longer necessary. Like, we don't show a bed in each of them. We show, this was kind of that second step wrap stair that you could get a 3-bedroom, but I think we go to the stacked stair. This is a pass through, and this is then the primary suite. There's not a bathroom up here. And, if this is your bedroom, then you have an office space upstairs, or you're somebody who loves clothes and you've got it all kitted out with like clothing racks and a big walk-in closet, or it's a little office, but it's something that is attached to your bedroom. that it's not a problem that it's passed through. And somebody could still then use this as a 1-bedroom on the end units, but we're preserving that 2-bedroom ability. Because in this location, we can make the parking work. We can go to that site plan. With all of them being 2 bedrooms, we couldn't make it work if we had 3 bedrooms. So I think losing potentially the 3rd bedroom by having it pass through or flex is nice, but we can do a automatic reduction. And then we also can do a reduction because we're within a 1/4 mile of a transit station. And I added 2 motorcycle spaces to this kind of walk-through space, which gets us two fewer spaces. And then we added a bike rack, which gets us two spaces less. So generally we'd be 1 parking space per bedroom for 8 units. We would need 16 spaces. But with all of those code reductions, by right, we can go down to the 10 that we can fit.
I'm counting 12 if we get 25% reduction.
We also get the transit reduction and the motorcycle reduction and the bike rack reduction now.
But is that more than 25%? I thought that was 15, 5, and 5.
You can swap up to, I'm gonna forget the percentage, but in our case, we can swap up to 2 parking spaces, 1 for 1, car parking for motorcycle parking. So that's the extra 2. On top of the, you can reduce and then you can swap out.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay. Nice. Okay. I was going to ask you about the bike racks. So I want to get to that too, but, so I think, okay. Are we clear on the dormer and the?
I think so. I think I have enough info to sketch something up and send it over and see if it looks right.
Okay.
If that makes sense. If kind of those 2 proposals of the end units that have a smaller area upstairs, it's a pass through and you could either put a bed up there or it's an office space. There's no bathroom. And then the middle units become a flex area on the 2nd floor and then a full suite upstairs.
Okay.
Okay. One of the other comments that I knew I want to talk about today is whether we do a side door here. And I was going to measure, I was wondering how much further that walk is to come around to the front door, only because the furniture kind of work, having 2 doors so close together becomes a little funky.
I guess if we had, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not. If we had a side, we could have a side entrance on the side porch or the south end of the porch.
Oh, come down the stairs right here.
Yeah. And
that's nice.
We could just move that tree.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's really nice.
And then I guess we wouldn't have to do that front walkway to the street. It could just be
entered from the side. The front porches look nice with the front entrance. I think is the only.
True. That's true.
It adds a lot to them feeling like big single family homes.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing that I guess the only thing that makes that less optimal is that you basically, the whole porch is a walkway. And so any furniture is going to be in the way. I guess if you made it 10 feet, is that an 8-foot porch?
I think it is.
If we did 10 feet, it could
it's an 8-foot.
If we have room for it, then it could be, you could put more furniture on there. I know we had the 8-foot porch and it was nice, but it was just not it was a sitting porch and not a room, not an extra room.
Yeah, and especially with a porch that long. I mean, I think we do have space. I also have not counted this porch as part of our impervious area because of the way it's framed up off the ground and the ground underneath it is pervious. So we'll see how that goes. Getting the stairs in on the side is going to be easier than getting them in here. one of the other things we needed to talk about today was grading.
Mhm.
And part of the challenge with the grading is just that we have such a long building that we're trying to keep the slab all at one height. So we could do, we end up with 6 inches basically as a drop in our high corner, but then it comes down to, 5 or 6 feet in the front corner. For Fayetteville, it's a really flat lot, but it's a big, deep building. And so, from here to here, we've got 5 feet of drop. So, getting stairs to a side door here, I think we would just need to turn the stoop sideways, which we could also do. We've got room to turn it sideways and come down with stairs here, which would make the 8-foot porch function better, unless you want a 10-foot porch anyway, which is more functional.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was kind of thinking that we didn't have room because we'd have to put the swale up front, and that would take up most of the space. But based on your drawing, we have room to move the porch out.
Yeah, I think this could come. Let me grab those stairs too. This kind of yard space is purely decorative. Like the stairs come past it. You're gonna have to come around the end of the swale to get to it. But these units still have this larger side, kind of side yard space. It's enough to let a dog out. So I think that works fine. And then these entry stairs that we're going to use, probably more often day to day with groceries and things, I think we make a little wider. The ones on the north side, we've got a little narrower because it's more like, you're letting your dog out into this yard.
Yeah. Well, I guess
tossing a football out there.
Maybe it doesn't matter, but if we made the porch a little narrower, the stairs could stick out less if that's an issue. I don't know, look wise from the facade, if the dimensions you picked, I think I just kind of, I don't know if you went off what I said or what you kind of dimensions.
Started with it narrower, and when I did the elevations, I thought what you had picked was actually better. It started narrower in plan when I was counting it as impervious surface, and then when I did the elevations, it looked too skinny.
Okay.
Although looking at this, 3 sets of stairs off the porch, it's still going to be tricky to use. I think that side door may be worth putting back in there. From a functional porch standpoint, I think you're going to use that porch more if you've got a side stair. Well, so let me drag that back in.
Maybe if you put the porch at the stairs at the front of the porch.
If you shifted it to the front.
Because then you have like a little pocket there where and maybe it doesn't matter. I was just thinking if you had the stairs in the front, then you have like a little pocket next to
space for an outdoor couch to go here or something.
Yeah. Does that?
Well, even moving these to here does probably help. Probably you've got an outdoor table to one side and outdoor soft seating to the other, which is usually what we see on a porch this long. But the soft seating, usually we're going to want to see a couch and like two chairs. And even with a 10-foot, that gets tight. Let me copy in these blocks and we can just lay out some porch furniture and see how it works.
Well, what I could see is, alternatively, just a porch swing on the, turned sideways.
So I think ideally we would see something kind of like that. And, outdoor sofas tend to be smaller than indoor sofas. But, if we're trying to get some soft furniture over here and we're kind of playing to the window locations, it's going to be hard to do that if we're also trying to get traffic flow with groceries up through this furniture seating.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I see it as, what if you had, just a porch swing turned sideways?
Sideways like this, or
Yeah,
sideways?
Yeah, like left to right. And then and those are 4 feet maybe, and you have foot on each side.
Yeah, although it's a big porch for just 2 seats, I think is the only downside on that.
Yeah.
Versus, I mean, I think these porches are going to be what sells the end units. Like I would want to be in the end unit just because you've got almost as much living space outside as you do inside, and you're elevated up off the street, so you've got kind of nice privacy, but you can still see and interact with people.
I think actually, yeah. So it makes me think too. So having the door to the house, like you lose some living space there, but you gain it on the porch, which I think is going to be valuable.
Yeah, I think adding this door is going to be better just from functionality of this porch space is so nice. So I think I didn't think this at first, and now having talked it through with you, I think it's probably better to just add this door and have it be consistent all the way down. And then this one, you can do kind of a full seating area out here, which is really nice. Okay, so I'll add these doors back in.
Oh no, okay. We didn't, I guess in my head, I thought there'd be a back door, kind of like the other ones. And you'd go out the back, and I didn't think there was going to be a connection to the porch from there. I just figured that was kind of what I had in my head, but I liked having the porch, the steps there. But I guess the problem is then you've got fridge and other stuff in the way of the windows. So that doesn't really.
That's why I ended up going with this alternate kitchen plan, so that, the American Foursquare that we're using as a architectural inspiration is wrong sheet, is so symmetrical. And so being able to do another big set of windows here to preserve that elevation, I think is nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks so good to me. I mean, I think that is just, I love it that it's going to be multifamily, but just fit in really nicely with the other single family houses in the neighborhood.
Yeah, it looks like a big historic house. And I think too, we've detailed with a modillion all the way kind of wrapping here and up on the dormer with a smaller one. And that's the kind of like level of detail that I think we could take it off of the main body of the house and leave it up top. We could take it off of both. There's architectural examples, American Foursquares with and without them, sort of depending on budget. And so, they're shown porch, main body of the house, and the dormers. But I think that's something that we could start to play with where they're really needed. As we dig into budget.
I was thinking, oh, well, yeah, let's do it. And then I was hearing more.
But you saw how much they cost.
Right. Well, I hadn't, but I was like, well, it's going to be more, but it's something we're going to hold long term. And I think it just shapes the street really nicely. But then I was hearing about all the additional cost increases of stuff continuing to go up. I kind of thought it was coming down, but then
we've really been struggling with that. We used to be able to just like show these details and it could get done and we could afford it. That's fine. And everything has gone up so much that we are having to get really creative, I think, with like, okay, there's good architectural precedent from the 30s, especially about like, how do they take those really nice historic styles and kind of strip them down to what they could get and what they could afford. And so we're looking at a lot more like architectural, drawings of houses from the 30s to look and see how can we start to step down our detail to match the fact that like everything's just way more expensive to get, often a less good product.
The Creole buildings in New Orleans, because they're just,
Mhm.
they look so good, but they're just so simple compared to the, some of their counterparts that are there that are a lot more detailed, but
Those have the same proportion too, that, they have a really narrow street facing side that, maybe we save the detail up on the dormer and on the porch, and we still do a really nice, round column, and this front door maybe is wood and it's really nice. And then the long side of the house, right? Maybe these go to a much cheaper door. Maybe these windows don't have muntins. Maybe we cut the detail here. Because a lot of those shotgun houses too, it's that same relative proportion that you only, 10% of your
Yeah.
building gets all the detail facing the street, and then it gets way simpler around the back.
yeah, well, those windows, I don't know. I guess I don't know how much more those are going to cost. I mean, I guess what to me I think is going to cost, not the munt in there, but just the framing around the windows. Not that it's that much, but when you just add it up, I think
Yeah.
I think that, but, and then also the details up at the modillions up at the top. Well, okay, so just thinking, I don't like to cut stuff out, but just thinking probably as I do it,
Yep.
there's a bathroom window up front. I feel like I've seen styles with that not being there.
Yep, it's optional. That was another one of the things that I listed that we could cut or leave, and maybe it gets priced initially, and then once you're looking at pricing, I think that front window is optional. The bathroom is nicer with some natural light, so I think you do have a little bit of a quality upgrade there, but I think that window is totally optional if it needs to get cut pricing wise.
I would also cut the bathroom windows on the downstairs, the half bath,
the powder room. Okay.
So not on the end, because I think that looks good. Yeah, those ones I would cut. Okay. I think they're unnecessary. I was wondering about doing 2 windows instead of 3 in the kitchen. Two larger windows.
Make notes on this, maybe faster. I think that works fine. We'll center them up to where that is right now. Okay.
I would keep the powder windows on the back side, because I think that otherwise it'll look like a big blank wall, I think.
Yeah, one of these is in the stairwell and one's in the powder, and I agree this wall looked very blank without those.
Oh yeah, so the half bath door should be out swinging.
Okay.
We had one of the ones townhouse we did before, they had a family member who couldn't get in there with that going in. On let's see, bike parking. Were you
we only need 1 bike rack, I think.
I guess as Sarah highlighted to me, that trying to move more to a bike community, trying to make it bikes as accessible and functional or easy as possible, rather than it being just kind of a necessity. I was kind of curious your thoughts on that. So, and I thought, if we had the layout as you have it, we could put it at the back of the building, just have covered bike right at the back there for bikes. So that was one option. Alternatively, though, I was thinking that we might want to flip that back unit, so we have windows on the on the outside.
Mhm.
I don't think that I didn't think that would matter. Oh yeah, I guess
I think my only downside of that is the view kind of sucks. You know, you're looking at a retaining wall and then parked cars. And so I think keeping it standardized, you know, we add an extra window here. So you do get window or light from 3 sides in that main living room, but this room isn't that big and the windows are pretty large. And so I think the 2 big ones here, and then, you know, 2 or 3 on the back wall, I think you have plenty of light, and then you're looking in nice directions. Kind of no matter how nice we do this, it's just, you're really close to not a great view. And so I think you're going to end up.
You don't like looking at cars? It's just...
I don't love looking at the front of cars, no matter how nice of cars they are. Because it's not even like it's your cars. You know what I mean? You're looking at like whoever's car is out there.
I guess the other thing too is thinking, okay, I was thinking about the lights when they pull in and shining to your you know, at night. Not optimal, but I was thinking about putting a fence there so you could actually enclose that space. But so you have a fenced yard, but alternatively, it does mean that I like the being able to simplify it or systematize it so it's just the same. You know, the fewer things we change is nice. But we could also, I mean, having that you know, for bike parking makes sense, unless you thought maybe there's another place. I thought about it.
I kind of like putting bike parking up here. I mean, I don't think it needs to be covered. I think we could do just a little kind of concrete pad with 2 bike racks. But I like doing it up kind of at the front of the units here.
Okay. So there's, I guess the good side of that is you can come in right off the street. There's no stairs. The bad side is just thinking about theft. But you know, maybe... I
think if people are worried about theft, though, it's as much of a concern back in the alley as it is up front. Like, you know, there's more kind of eyes on the street up front. And if you're worried about theft, you're probably bringing your bike inside or putting it in your backyard.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess
would be my vote.
Put a camera and auto lights or something like that too. Okay. I mean,
we can wall mount a motion detector light up over it, which also is helpful if you're coming in at night.
Yeah. And
you're trying to operate your bike lock. You get a light that turns on.
I also like the just sort of, I don't know the right word, but community signaling aspect of it. Just people see bikes out front and just feels like, hey, this is you know, kind of a bike friendly area, and just okay.
I agree with that.
The other thing, I think we solved it, but Gustavo was talking about the minimal amount of space in the attic and for HVAC, and then thinking about it, the pitch, you have a 612 pitch. If we did a higher pitch, you could get more space in there. I mean, I like the look of it. So I don't know if historically that's what the pitch is, 612, or if it would go higher. I mean, I think it looks really nice the way it is. I mean, I guess the hip roof, I don't know if I guess you have the same pitch on those, but
yeah, the dormers end up with the same pitch. Was double checking. I played with it at some point. I think if we need a little bit more space, they probably could go up to 8. I think it's probably, I'll play with that with a floor plan and just kind of make a note to see, you know, if it feels just a little bit too tight, that maybe this does go up to an 8 and 12.
Okay. The other thing too, you put 10-foot ceilings on the first floor. I like that, but just thinking cost wise, maybe that's cost saving to do 9 foot. And one other cost saving was on the windows, the side windows on the bedrooms upstairs. On the front one, we have the 2 windows on the front unit, and maybe we just cut that one out.
Oh, this end one.
Yeah.
The elevation looked kind of funky without it. I had it without, and then it felt weird. But yes, I do think if we needed to,
I get, I wanted to look good.
That could go away.
You might not really see it that much. Right now you're looking directly on, but you're not really going to have that view from. It's going to be from an angle,
right?
Let's see. I'm gonna just
the furniture layout works a little better without that window.
Yeah,
I think the elevation's a little less nice, but I think the furniture layout inside is
the other
better.
thing too is you're just going to be looking. Unfortunately, those 2 inside windows are going to be right at the other windows. I mean, what we'll just do is a top down, bottom up blind, so you can just have the upper half.
Yep.
There. Well, actually. Well, I guess that one will be the stacked bedroom anyway, which
yes,
whatever. So it may not be a bed, but okay. Let me see if
yeah, I guess that's one I would sort of, maybe we leave it in the plans and it gets priced and we just have a note on there that it's, maybe I'll put a note on any of the optional windows that can be cut for cost savings. Because if there's money for it, I think it's going to be nice long-term. Anytime we've got a room that has light from 2 sides, the cross ventilation is nicer and just the room itself feels nicer.
Yeah. If you're also thinking about, okay, I think so do you have gutters on here, or you have the detailing showing?
We have not been using gutters. They feel, especially, we always use at least a 2-foot roof overhang. So we're really not getting water on the walls. And with as many trees as we're generally both keeping and or planting new, gutters just feel like they end up being a maintenance issue. As often as not, we see gutters that are full of leaves and overflowing, and we're getting more water in the soffit than we would if we just didn't have gutters.
Yeah. So I was thinking about just putting a note on there for having gutter guards on there if we did. The walkway is directly.
We've got at least 2 feet of landscaping. So the water is falling in landscaping, not on the path.
Okay.
And then the front stoops have a little porch awning that's covering that. So you're not getting hit with water from the roof.
Okay.
We can add them if you prefer. From a cost saving standpoint and long-term maintenance standpoint, we've been recommending against gutters in this market.
Not loving gutters, but just, okay. I mean, I like the look without, I like the maintenance without, but I just was thinking about that if you're walking in. Let's see, I think there was.
I could make that more obvious on the plans also, because that is something that builders are sometimes surprised by because they're so used to just like business as usual.
Yeah.
Getting gutters put on.
I would, oh yeah. So you have skylights on there. I'd probably just cancel those out. We'll have the dormers.
Okay. Oh yeah. They don't make sense in that center hallway anyway, now that we have the 3rd floor.
And then I was thinking about having covered parking as well for 4 spaces. So, and then we could add add a electric charger potentially. I'm not sure how we'll do that. You could, because I'm thinking we'll have solar on there, which, you know, would be nice to have an extra electric charger. But you know, it won't be, I'm not sure, I didn't want to have garages, so I'm assuming we can have it outdoor. You know, if it's just covered, it will be
I
fine.
think so. I see them out in parking lots, just
Yeah,
a freestanding.
It may be that those are, you know, you have to, they're a lot more expensive to do something that's weatherproof than what, you know, like a wall charger. I don't know, but
Right.
But
Do you think the center 4 spaces, do those covered so that this entrance is covered and then we don't have more than 5 contiguous parking spaces, so it's not a parking lot?
Well, I was thinking maybe we do 4, like the 4 center ones and then the 4 other ones. I guess this is, so I don't think that'll, since if we have gravel parking, that won't be a issue with stormwater, right? Having the covered.
No.
Okay.
The gravel counts as impervious area anyway.
Okay.
I don't know why they have it charted differently. Well, actually, I say that. If we do filter rock, we've got a special detail that if we do filter rock with no fines, then we can count the gravel as pervious.
Okay.
If we added a roof, we would probably need to slope it back towards the alley and then add a gutter and put the water into an under drain that goes like into the filter rock. You know what I mean? So that we're saying all of that water is going into the parking. And that the parking itself is then more or less a green stormwater feature, because it's, you know, we can count the volume of, this is getting kind of nerdy about this, but if we use only filter rock, it's on fabric, so we're not getting crushing of that stone down into the clay undersoil, you know, because with the clay soils that we have in most of Fayetteville, we're not really getting infiltration anyway. It's more about holding the water and releasing it slowly. And so if we're using only filter rock that has a pretty big void space, which works fine for parking, I actually think it's nicer because you're not tracking fines inside like you would with like an SV2 or a number 57. Then we can count the total volume of stone, so the area times the depth, times a 40% void factor with a 70% sedimentation factor, and then we can count that volume as actual stormwater storage area.
What's a 70% sedimentation factor?
So we say that we can only use, we're essentially saying we can only use 30% of the remaining void space long term, because, you know, a lot of it with leaves and things, they're going to silt in. Even 6 or 8 inches of filter rock over an area this big, it ends up being a decent cubic foot amount. So I think we would be fine balancing the extra roof covering of some covered parking with that extra. We would then count this as a bioretention area for that roof. We'd make sure to slope it back towards the alley so it's got the maximum distance of the rock to run through versus like sloping it away from that and down here.
Okay.
We are trying to keep these under 3,000 each because they are separate lots, so they should be permitted separately. So we should be allowed 6,000 per lot. I'm waiting for the city to sort of catch up to that and start counting it as like total project. And so we've been, when we're close, we're trying to keep it under 6,000 total.
Well, I actually wanted to permit them separately and get what I want to do for my subversiveness is with the.
You sure you want to put this part on YouTube?
What?
Are you sure you want to put this part on YouTube? Or are you going to cut this part of the video out?
I can edit out.
Okay, perfect.
If I need to, but doing them separate permits and have the parking or the sidewalk do my little jog.
Yes.
And so what I was thinking is we might just, so if I do the permits, it's funny that my subversiveness is actually making it worse, but anyway, I think in the long term, it shows a point, but we'll see. But so I was thinking if we do, 2 units separately, get one permitted, get it approved.
Yeah.
And then do the second one, or then I can do it that way. So if they're like 2 separate, now the carport's is a whole separate permit, so it may be that I do that afterwards anyway, and it doesn't, we can do it as a joint. So we can combine them afterwards, and I think that won't have an impact, because when we do them, we're allowed to connect them
because they're not connected to the building, so they could be 0 lot line connected.
So yeah. I think that was it I had to say.
Okay, that makes sense. We'll break this out then and show them individually. I'll go ahead and show the half of the carport that counts for pervious area on this, so that then when you submit that other permit, you can reference. Although, let me think about that. There's no downside, I guess. I think to showing the carport here and showing that you are taking care of it by the GSP codes. And then when you submit the carport, I was starting to think, well, but the carport's under 1,200. So if it's its own permit, would we just say it's exempt because it's under 1,200 square feet? But I think it would be better to just show it. We can show it. We're still under the threshold. I think we show it on these, but I'll break these site plans out. So we're only showing one at a time, and then show the half of the carport that counts towards that.
I guess the thing is, if you do it, I mean, maybe I would just maybe show it with 3 parking spaces on there, in the middle 3.
Okay.
Because the one that's close to the walk, you'll have to have a 5-foot separate. Well, is that 3 feet there?
Yeah, because it's a motorcycle space, so it's 3 feet.
Okay, so these are 9-foot spaces.
Yes.
So that you have 2 feet on the far side, on the south side.
Yep. We have the retaining wall, and then you get a 10-foot space against the retaining wall.
Oh, okay.
So you have a little extra space to get out. There is some grade fall. I think you're going to need it to get out next to that.
I gotcha. Okay. So maybe we just show the first 3 on there. The middle 3. And those aren't actually part of this permit that we'll submit, if that makes sense. And then later when we do when I submit for the actual carport, if I do, you
could do a carport that's like this. It can be connected. There's no issues with that. And then we'll put posts on the line.
Well, I'm just
on the
saying
parking line.
I'm just saying that when we do if you show that on the site plan, then it becomes a whole project, as opposed to, its own individual project. Its own
individual permit. Well, when we've shown them on our main site plans, I've actually been surprised a couple of times. We've shown them in plan and in architectural detail and in elevation, and like they're fully detailed in the permit sets. The permit set gets approved, and then later when we're building the carport that they've seen and approved, they want us to come back and apply for a separate building permit for that carport. And so if we show it, you still have to go get a separate permit.
Yeah. So that's silly. What I'm saying is if we just kind of show it on the plan, but it's just so we make sure that they know that, okay, we're going to do a carport, and that's not included or that is included GSP, or it's not, then but they're not like, oh, this is part of a bigger project.
I think we can just show it we'll show each one running to the lot line, and then we'll just have a note that says carport per separate permit application. But I think if we don't show it, they're going to say, well, you have 5 parking spaces. And so that's a parking lot. So now we need you to meet parking lot standards. So I think we want to show that there is a carport, show that we're taking care of it from a GSP standpoint. And then, you know, the rest, we won't show any more detail on it, and you'll have just a separate permit application for that. But that way, when you do the carport permit application, you can have a note that says carport GSP per application number, whatever this permit number is.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why this is so complicated either. And you can't just show a carport and have it be part of your building permit. Because if we connected it with like a 1 foot strip of something, right, and it's not a connected carport, it doesn't have to be its own permit application.
Oh.
If it's a attached carport, it's not its own permit. It's only if it's detached. We could run 1 2x4 from this corner post over to the house. And then hang like a wind chime off of it. Okay, I can break that up. That's easy. And we'll just have, we did this on MLK too. We'll just have 2 versions of this sheet that are identical, except one of them showing this one and one of them showing this one. And because the architectural plans will be similar. I mean, we'll mirror it, we'll mirror all the notes and stuff, but they're pretty similar.
Okay.
Do the dormers on the south units, the south run of units, let me look at this. Do I have floor plans on here? Yeah. This set of units, if we want to do solar on the south side, do we need to have the dormers on both plans be on the north side? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Which I think doesn't matter if we do the stairs like you suggested and not have that turn. Maybe there's a slight, I guess it might make a slight difference, but it seems like it should be.
I don't think it makes a huge difference. It makes a slight difference, but not a massive difference. Okay. I think that's pretty easy. Great. Did we make it through all of your notes?
I think so. Yep.
Perfect.
I guess, oh, sorry. Last thing, I was just thinking about the facade and having them the same for both of them, and just see if you thought there should be any, small difference between them, or just how, if they're just different colors, or kind of what your thoughts there were.
I like them matching. I mean, I like matching plans, though. I think especially because they're going to feel like a neighborhood, I would even paint them the same color. If it was me. Like, I think the front doors are maybe different colors. And I think the doors on the sides, I might do all of these front doors. Each unit has a front door that's its own color. And I think we use some planting variety to, we need to do landscape plans for these permits anyway. So I think we can show there's not very much space. So for not a ton of extra money, you could landscape this pathway to add some privacy and feel kind of lush. And I think each little townhouse kind of has its own set of plants, but if it were me, I would do a matching.
Okay.
Because I think if they're slightly different, it's just a lot of details to keep track of, right? We would do the columns different, and the railing design would be different. We'd probably do a different soffit design. Maybe the windows have a different mutton pattern. But at that point, they still look really similar, but you have a lot more admin to track, keeping all those little changes separate in all the orders.
Okay.
So I would paint them a relatively simple color. I can even see painting them really dark, like white trim, white windows, with them like kind of a dark charcoal, and they just match. I think that's kind of cool.
In my head, I was thinking maybe that blue that you used, or we did on one of the cottages.
Yep.
But
I think that'd be awesome.
I guess yeah. It kind of it's kind of interesting. Think if you do them the same, then it's like both feels single family, but also it's clear that it's not single family in a
Yeah.
sense, and so which I think is kind of an interesting mixture of like, okay, here's what we're doing. It's multifamily, but it feels single family, but it's, it's not single family as opposed to trying to pretend it is. But
yeah, I think I like that tension, that it feels more like a neighborhood complex but it's still scale wise and detail wise blends really appropriately. Portland has lots of little, apartment buildings and kind of cottage courts that are like that the detailing and scaling is really residential. But you can tell that it's a little complex. And I think it's a nice tension that we don't get a lot here. That it's like its own product type. It doesn't feel like an apartment building, but it doesn't feel like a house. It feels like its own little thing.
Yeah, I think I'm excited. I think it's going to be, of course, there's going to be some backlash, but I think it's going to be a really good thing. That's a good signal for just doing small infill multifamily.
Yeah,
that looks good. That looks really good.
I agree with that. I think the last note that I had from a grading standpoint is if we do, right now I'm showing a relatively short wall, so it doesn't need to be engineered. We've just been using Keystone, or whatever modular block for this. I'm showing a row of hedges. If you have 3 feet of planting area, then you don't need a fence and a rail, which I think is cheaper and easier to maintain and is going to look nicer. And then we get a little bit of a filter strip, so you aren't getting gravel washing over the wall into this yard. If we wanted to eliminate the wall, one way that we could do that, and something we've done before on some townhouse rows, is to keep the roof line the same, but step the foundation that like this, this unit would have like an 8-foot upper floor and a 9-foot lower floor, and then a 9-foot and 9-foot, and then a 9-foot and 10-foot, and then a 10-foot and 10-foot. So the front doors each step 1 foot, and the slab steps, so that we can get that, 3 or 4 feet of fall from the front of the building to the back of the building, but the roof can still stay the same. Because each one of the floor trusses, the wall detail that we're using is each townhouse has its own 2x4 wall. There's a 1-inch air gap between the two, and then the trusses each sit, on those sets of 2x4. So it's like 4 little houses that are framed side by side with a 1-inch air gap, and then just wrapped in one envelope. And so from a framing standpoint, they have to be paying attention when they're framing it, but there's not really any extra complexity in the trusses being different heights. But that is the way that if you wanted to cut the wall, we would probably try to cut the wall. The building ends up tall at the front though, right? Because we get 2 10-foots. But I think those are probably the 2 options with the amount of fall that we have. Either we've got the retaining wall, which is pretty short, and then we can keep the slabs all the same height, all the ceilings at the same height, so that the units are all pretty consistent, or we step the slab with the site.
I think the simplicity of keeping it the same is ideal, since the retaining wall is going to be pretty short. Then I think it makes sense to just do the retaining wall. But if it were going to be a lot taller, then I think it might make sense. But that's interesting. I had an interesting way to think about it with doing the 8, 8, 9, 9, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, or whatever.
Yeah.
And
if we had more grade change, that's one way that we could do it. I think we're right on the line that it's probably kind of 6.5 one does the other.
I appreciate that, because I think I'd ideally, assuming this goes well, I'd like to do this, in other locations where, and they probably won't be so, probably have more grade. So
Yeah, for Fayetteville, this is like as good as it gets,
Yeah.
front to back. Okay, cool. It makes the stairs easier inside too, doing it the way that you're talking about with the retaining wall, because we don't have a different number of stairs every single staircase. Okay, then I will keep going with grading and site permitting drawings, unless you don't want us to, because we've been putting together these packages with the GSP. As long as we're under that 10,000 square foot, we can do all of these drawings, and then they're all coordinated to stair heights and stoop heights and finished floor elevations and all of that stuff.
Okay. So, oh yeah. So I was going to ask you about that. So
yeah,
base is a lot cheaper.
They are. That's true, because it doesn't get coordinated.
Because what?
It doesn't get coordinated. You know what I mean? Like, it's less work. They just draw it the way that they want to do it, and then we draw it the way we want to do it, and then in the field you figure out the difference.
Yeah. So I guess I was just going to chat what difference, like, sell me on what.
Totally.
I mean, I'm not trying to say you're not worth it, whatever, but I'm just saying, okay, well, like, tell me.
It's a totally different product. You don't always need that, right? It's the difference in like a Jetta and I don't know, whatever, a nicer car is. You don't always need the nicer car. So sometimes you just need the Jetta. So no offense either way, if you want to just have them do it. We've just been coordinating it because the permitting process right now is such a pain in the neck that some of the fee is, we've been getting like multiple rounds of comments back and forth from the city. We did like 6 resubmissions on one of the first GSP permits that went in because they kind of hadn't figured it out. And so there's a ton of permit process management and changes that are included in that too. But a lot of it is, I mean, it's just fully coordinating. You know, they did a site plan that you could get a permit on, but if you try to take the site plan that they've done for you and permit it with the architectural set that we had done, like the two of them, you can't really build together because they're two really different approaches. They're saying what's the easiest thing we can do from a site standpoint, and then drawing it that way and hoping that the architecture solves the grade challenges. And so doing them both together, we're figuring out, okay, what's that balance between, does it make more sense for us to step the slabs, or does it make more sense for us to do the wall, and then figuring all of that out kind of all the way through.
Okay. Okay. Let me look at that real quickly or whatever, and I'll get back to you soon. I guess I'm thinking too.
No pressure either way.
Okay. Having the yards, and I guess what we do there, but I guess we can address that if I have yeah, we can address that next. I'm just thinking, yeah, like, you know, where we put the HVAC units, or if we do like stepped yards or something like that.
Yeah, we have to do some landscape for the permits, street trees and picking species, all that kind of stuff. The yards are so small. I included, I mean, it was like a couple extra hours to go ahead and just place plants too, and give you a full planting plan that's budget wise appropriate, but also is going to like make these feel cute. Cause you know, there's such a small planting area at the front doors. So that's something that's included there too. That's beyond what you need for permit.
Okay.
That we have in there right now.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, this is probably a lot longer than you're expecting given your health. So thank you for staying on.
No worries. Good talking through it. Good to see you. We'll start making these changes, and then if I've got other questions that come up, I'll just send them over via email.
Okay.
Sweet. Thank you.
All right.
Talk soon.